We don't have to win in order to be respected. We have to stay true to ourselves. We have to find the relevance in who we are and not strive to become what's popular.
At 71, Kevin Costner stands at the center of a stunning unraveling. His marriage gone, his defining role in Yellowstone lost, and millions poured into a vision now slipping beyond reach. Those closest to him watch the distance grow, the pressure deepen, and the consequences become impossible to ignore. Some point to relentless ambition, others to history repeating itself, or a pattern he could never escape. Was this collapse inevitable? What remains is not just loss, but a truth far more devastating than anyone expected. When everything fell apart again. In the span of a single year, the life Kevin Costner had carefully rebuilt began to fracture in ways that felt both sudden and deeply familiar. By 2023, he was no longer just a respected figure from Hollywood's past. He had returned to the center of global attention through Yellowstone, commanding millions of viewers and redefining what a late-career resurgence could look like. On the surface, it appeared as though everything had finally aligned. The career was thriving again. The image was restored. The life he had spent decades shaping seemed at last balanced. But beneath that success, pressure had already begun to build. In May 2023, confirmation emerged that he would not continue with the second half of Yellowstone's fifth season. What was publicly framed as a scheduling conflict carried deeper implications. This was not just a departure from a television show. It marked the loss of the very role that had brought him back to prominence, the one that had reintroduced him to a new generation. For audiences, it was unexpected. For those closer to the situation, it signaled a shift that had been quietly unfolding for months. And then, just weeks later, the personal collapse followed. In June 2023, Christine Baumgartner, his wife of 18 years, filed for divorce. The timing was impossible to ignore. A relationship that had long been viewed as stable, even redemptive after earlier struggles, was suddenly coming to an end under intense public scrutiny. Behind closed doors, the separation carried emotional weight far beyond what headlines could capture. This was not simply the end of a marriage. It was the unraveling of a life he had once believed he had finally gotten right. At the same time, another pressure point was growing. Costner had committed himself fully to Horizon, an American saga, an ambitious, multi-part Western project he had spent years developing. Unlike many of his previous works, this was not just a role he stepped into. It was a vision he carried personally, financially, and creatively. Reports indicated that he had invested tens of millions of dollars of his own money into bringing the project to life. The scale of that commitment placed him in a position where stepping back was no longer an option. What made this moment particularly striking was not just the number of losses, but how they overlapped. Within months, he was facing the collapse of his marriage, the departure from the show that had restored his career, and the immense financial risk of a project the industry was already watching with caution. Each development alone would have been significant. Together, they formed something far more difficult to contain. For those observing from the outside, it looked like everything was happening at once. But for Costner, there was a quieter, more unsettling realization taking shape beneath the surface. The pattern felt familiar. The timing felt familiar. The intersection of professional ambition and personal loss was not new territory. It was something he had lived through before, under different circumstances, in another chapter of his life. And while the world saw everything collapse at once, a deeper truth quietly emerged beneath the surface. Had Kevin Costner been here before, repeating the same rise and loss, without ever escaping it again? Let's find out. The return that came with a cost. Kevin Costner's net worth is estimated at $250 million. He has been a leading actor in Hollywood since the 1980s, winning numerous awards, including 2 Academy Awards, 3 Golden Globe Awards, 2 Screen Actors Guild Awards, and an Emmy, In 2003, he received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Costner began his career with the independent film Sizzle Beach, USA, in 1981, but gained fame with 1985's Silverado. He rose to prominence with the 1987 crime drama The Untouchables, directed by Brian De Palma. In 1990, he founded TIG Productions with Jim Wilson, producing Dances with Wolves, which he directed and starred in, winning 7 Oscars, including Best Picture and Best Director. So how did he earn this massive fortune? What led to his wealth? You're in for an interesting story. Costner is also known for his roles in movies like JFK, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, The Bodyguard, The Highwaymen, and Hidden Figures. On television, he starred in Hatfields and McCoys and Yellowstone. Beyond acting, he has invested in real estate and various business ventures, which contribute to his wealth. Details about his net worth came to light during his divorce from Christine Baumgartner. Court documents revealed that he earns about $19.3 million each year, but after expenses he takes home about $7.59 million annually. While these amounts are impressive for most people, they are just a small piece of Costner's vast fortune. In the 1980s and 1990s, he was one of the highest-paid actors in the world. His roles in blockbuster films like Dances with Wolves and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, helped him rake in significant earnings. In 1991, Costner earned $50 million, mainly from his share of the profits from Dances with Wolves. Today, that would be like making $110 million. That film won 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. While Kevin contemplated the idea in his mind, he needed that bit of push in the right direction, and that is exactly what Richard Burton offered him. Kevin, who already had a wife at the young age of 23, wanted assurances from someone like Kevin that he could take his acting career seriously without rocking the boat. To him, the idea was nearly impossible, but Richard provided the nudge that he needed. Richard's words meant so much to him, and he eventually chose to tread the path that would lead him right to Hollywood fame. But how was he ever going to balance his marketing and finance gig with acting classes? Although he had seen how the West was won as a child, and which inspired his love for being an actor and telling stories that resonated with moral values.
I wanted to be a part of the momentum, and I felt that I could do that through music.
Being on that stage needed more than half-cocked confidence in movies you saw as a kid. It needed dedication, time, and the confidence to get in a room with directors and producers and pitch your ideas. Soon, Kevin quit his job in marketing and finance, and he followed his dreams with reckless abandon. While he pursued his dreams, he needed a job to keep the house warm, get food on the table, and keep his wife happy. And he did just that, taking up odd jobs that helped him support himself, including working on fishing boats, driving a truck, and being a tour guide for anyone who wanted to visit the homes of some of Hollywood's biggest stars at the time. And that's exactly how he paid the tuition for his 5 days a week acting classes. Just how much did that pay off? Costner's rise to fame. Kevin Costner, who had given it all up for Hollywood, found the support of his wife, and he knew that he did not have to bother for a second about her ever leaving, for struggling at the beginning. However, with a talent like his, it did not take so much time to rise to fame. Like the expression goes, the cream always rises to the top. By 1987, Kevin made his debut in Sizzle Beach, USA. It was the first time that anyone had taken cognizance of some 6'1" lad who had bags of untapped potential, and soon everyone wanted a piece of him. However, he did not get that next role until 1982, when he played a minor role as a frat boy in the Ron Howard film Night Shift, 1982, and Stacy's Night in 1983. Now he is in the big leagues, his name was on everyone's lips, and directors and producers began to tailor stories that could suit him. But that big role did come until he played the eccentric character of Jake in Silverado, a Western movie directed by his friend Lawrence Kasdan, who had promised him a featured role in a big project, and now the time had come, and the world was at his feet. Silverado was his breakout movie, and everyone knew who he was. But that still was not enough to project him into the types of projects that a man of his talents deserved to feature in, as he only got to feature in smaller projects that year.
I was at a place that had a golf course. I went over there to kill some time. I saw this.
With movies like Fandango, American Flyer, and also starred in Steven Spielberg's Amazing Stories, alongside 24 star Kiefer Sutherland. But just 2 years later, he found himself playing Elliot Ness, federal agent in The Untouchables, and right then, he achieved movie star status. Finally, he had broken through, and while he was Kevin at home and to family, he was Elliot Ness to the rest of the world. That franchise role brought him to the forefront of Hollywood fame. However, in the cutthroat business of Hollywood, getting to the top of the pinnacle was only the beginning. The real job was maintaining that status forever. But Kevin wasn't scared of a little challenge. He took it head on and forced his way to the top. He was moving at such insane speed, and everyone could tell there was a new star in Hollywood, and he wasn't ready to back down. At the time, he had his wife, Cindy, who showed up every time, taking care of the house and keeping him focused on just his job. By the early 90s, he found critical acclaim with about 12 Academy Award nominations, and he won 7 of them. Just how important was critical acclaim for the continuity of his career? From California to Hollywood dreams, from the crack of the whip to the horse riding and careless whistling, Hollywood created one of the greatest titans of the Western genre in Kevin Costner, the boy who had the dreams of a man and nurtured that dream until it sang in the streaks of the 90s sunlight. But just how did his move materialize over time? Born in the mid-50s, a time period in American Hollywood history when the buzz of the Western genre colored the country like neon lights, and everyone wanted a piece of it, good old Kevin was interested in something different. He was the one kid in every teacher's class who was not particularly interested in most of the activities that took place right in front of him. He needed something else to focus his attention on: art. He was not the very best academically, so he needed to stick to his hobbies, which included poetry, piano lessons, and singing. However, aside from the very fact that he was more into hobbies than schooling, especially in high school, he also grew into a physical specimen, standing tall at 6'1", and he took full advantage of it, playing basketball in Villa Park while he was a student at the high school. His father's success at his job came with a price.
And somehow they don't find their way into Westerns, and in Horizon, they dominate.
It required that they move consistently. This was the hardest part of his life as a teenager. He found it hard to make connections on a personal level with anyone at all, as he felt that he would soon have to ditch them anyway when his dad got another opportunity or a pay rise. Every goodbye slowly carved strength into him, teaching him lessons about starting over. Soon, his heart grew and longed for something different. He wanted to see the world, and he wanted to be seen making an impact in it. So, he took academics just a bit more seriously, studying at California State University, where he bagged a bachelor's degree in marketing and finance. But while he had all the wit and cunning to survive in this game of numbers, his heart wanted more. He was certain that he could do more in the world. So he set off to tell the stories in his heart and found that connection with Hollywood. His last years in college had already set him on a path for Hollywood. He had suddenly taken to acting and dancing like a fish to water. But how does a 23-year-old graduate of finance find his way into Hollywood? The journey to Hollywood. Being a part of the Hollywood franchise was never going to be easy. But Kevin Costner was not the type to run away from a fight. He was the guy who would die on the battlefield rather than take the easy way out. He had finally settled on his choices, but there was something else. Something that most people perceived might be a stumbling block for him. He had found love on the university campus and chosen to get married to her in 1978. The pressure was intense and overwhelming. The possibility of kids coming into the fold soon enough forced his hand to make a decision. He had two choices. He could continue the half-hearted job he got after university as the intense finance guy who could crunch numbers and keep a company afloat. He had the education, the Polish, and most importantly, the charm to get him into a room where the conversations got tricky and he could be the bigger dog. However, even in the hustle and bustle of the finance world, Kevin was almost deafened by the loud silence in his heart.
And good and bad, and I know as our human race, we keep trying.
His heart bled for stories, an adventure on the world's biggest screens, but he still found it hard to decide, at least until he met Richard Burton. Richard was already an actor, hence, he knew better than anyone what the life of an actor was really about. In 1992, his profits from Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, netted him $40 million. He also earned $14 million for his role in the 1995 blockbuster Waterworld. Before the 5th season of Yellowstone began filming, Kevin Costner signed a new contract with Paramount that increased his salary to $1.2 million per episode for a planned 16-episode season, divided into 2 parts. The first part aired from November 2022 to January 2023. In February 2023, reports surfaced that Costner was having difficulties with the show's creator and producer, Taylor Sheridan, as well as Paramount, regarding the filming schedule for the second part. If the second part is completed, Costner will earn $19.2 million for the 5th season. Should a 6th season be produced, his salary will rise to $1.5 million per episode, totaling $24 million for that season. In the mid-1990s, Kevin Costner paid his first wife, Cindy Silva, an $80 million divorce settlement. When adjusted for inflation, this amount is roughly equivalent to $160 million today. On May 2, 2023, Christine Baumgartner filed for divorce after 18 years of marriage, citing irreconcilable differences. Initially, Christine did not seek spousal support due to their prenup agreement. Kevin's lawyers stated, "Spousal support will be payable to the petitioner under the terms of the parties' premarital agreement." However, by mid-June 2023, Christine requested $250,000 per month in support. This request did not cover expenses related to their children, which Kevin already pays. Christine noted that Kevin made $19.5 million in 2023, and that their family's total expenses were $6.6 million, including trips to Aspen, Hawaii, and the Caribbean, where they hired chefs and caterers. Additionally, they spend around $2 million each year on property maintenance. Christine's legal filing revealed details about their income and expenses for 2022. Kevin earned a total of $19.5 million that year, which included $1.2 million per episode of Yellowstone, bringing in nearly $10 million for 8 episodes. He also made $2.3 million from renting out his Aspen ranch and $503,000 from renting a beachfront property in Carpinteria, California. The family's total expenses for 2022 were $6.5 million. Christine claimed that Kevin once received a $250 million offer for his Aspen property, in addition to their other real estate assets. Kevin Costner, on the verge of going bankrupt. Of course, Kevin Costner is one of Hollywood's most recognizable faces. He has made and acted in a lot of movies over the years. He should have kept a lot of money for any future crisis, but, well, we don't always know what each day will bring. Recent developments have placed Kevin Costner in a precarious financial situation that many find hard to believe. Costner, who has had a great career, is now on the verge of bankruptcy due to his passion project, Horizon, an American saga, a 4-part Western epic in which he invested $38 million of his own money in. Apart from the money, he put in a lot of work.
I'm one of those folks who's kind of gutted that you're not going to be in Yellowstone anymore.
Yeah,
Kevin.
I loved making that thing.
The project was a labor of love for Costner, but this brought his current financial strugglings. In an interview, Costner acknowledged that his huge investment in Horizon has come with risks. Clearly, things are at risk, he stated. Yet despite the financial risk, he had remained committed to his vision. The movie Horizon Saga is actually about the Civil War and the subsequent settlement of the American West. And for Costner, this isn't just another film, it is like a legacy project. So he put in a lot for that. To fund this venture, Costner even mortgaged his sprawling 10-acre beachfront property in Montecito, California. That was huge. Probably he understands what's at stake, yet his dedication to seeing the project through caused financial strain. "I don't want to lose track of what moves me and what I want to do in my life," Costner said. He was so passionate about this movie, particularly because of the themes the movie explored. That was the driving force behind his decision to take such a massive financial gamble. The Horizon saga is intended to provide audiences with a raw, human look at the challenges and conflicts faced during a pivotal time in American history. Despite all his efforts, sadly, Horizon failed to meet its financial goals at the box office. It didn't meet expectations at all, despite the massive investment made by Costner. The project, which was intended to be a cinematic triumph, at first earned critical praise at film festivals such as Cannes, but stumbled commercially. The film managed to pull in only $11 million during its opening weekend, a very bad sum compared to its $100 million production cost. This shortfall has left Costner in a very bad spot. Serious concerns about how he will continue to fund the remaining installments of the series. The challenges associated with Horizon are not the only financial strain Costner is currently facing. His personal life has also made his situation more complicated and complex. Costner's divorce from Christine Baumgartner has been well publicized, and the financial implications of their separation have placed additional pressure on the actor. As part of the divorce settlement, Costner is required to pay over $248,000 per month in child support. That's a huge amount. With both Horizon and his personal finances in flux, Costner finds himself in a situation where his lavish lifestyle and his passion project are pulling him in different directions. The impact of Costner's financial troubles has rippled into his real estate holdings, particularly his prized Santa Barbara estate. This lavish property was like a symbol of his Hollywood success, and it is now at risk due to the financial burden placed on Costner by both his divorce and his investment in Horizon. Reports indicate that there have been significant delays in the production of the remaining parts of the saga. This clearly shows that Costner is in a little mess. All these complicated issues have created a bad storm for the actor, leading to speculation about whether he will be able to maintain his current lifestyle or whether he will be forced to sell off assets to survive. You can't blame Costner for believing in himself. In fact, if you don't believe in yourself, who will? Costner has always been known as a great filmmaker, particularly when it comes to westerns. His previous work, Dances with Wolves, earned him critical acclaim and solidified his reputation in the genre. Yet, Horizon is a different beast altogether. Unlike traditional westerns, Costner's vision for Horizon was more pronounced, focusing on the human stories that defined the expansion of the American frontier. "I don't like a lot of westerns because they're sometimes dumb or sometimes just too black hat, white hat," he shared, revealing his dissatisfaction with how the genre is often portrayed. Costner wanted Horizon to be different, showing not only the violence and conflict of the era, but also the humanity that existed amid the chaos. Despite his creative vision, Costner's refusal to listen to those who gave him financial advice. According to insiders, many well-wishers warned him against investing such a large portion of his own money into Horizon, particularly given the risks involved in producing such a large-scale project. But Costner, however, remained rigid in his decision, driven by a desire to maintain creative control and tell the story on his own terms. Now these warnings seem prophetic. Kevin's Costner financial investments. Kevin Costner owns some impressive properties across the country. One notable property is in Aspen, Colorado. It spans 160 acres and has 3 lakefront homes that can accommodate 30 guests. Costner acquired this estate in 3 deals, buying 2 in the late 1980s and early 1990s for undisclosed amounts, and the last one in 2017 for $3 million. He rents this property for $30,000 a night. Another significant property is in Carpinteria, California, a beachfront town between Malibu and Santa Barbara. Costner built an amazing estate with 3 side-by-side properties, starting with the first in the 1980s and adding the second a decade later. The third was purchased in 2017 for $7.3 million. Previously, he sold a 7-acre property in the same area for $25 million in 2009. In 2006, he paid $28,500,000 for a 17-acre piece of undeveloped land with ocean views. He also owns a 10-acre property in Carpinteria, which he tried to sell for $60 million in 2017, later dropping the price to $49 million before taking it off the market. Kevin Costner earned $500,000 per episode for Yellowstone, and by the end of his time on the show, he likely made $1 million per episode. For his role in Waterworld, he received $14 million. The film had a budget of $235 million and made $264 million globally. It only became profitable after it was released for home video rentals and sales. Costner's salary for Man of Steel is not publicly known, but he played Jonathan Kent, Clark Kent's father, in that film. He also made a cameo in Justice League. Currently, reports indicate that Costner is the richest actor on Yellowstone. His long career and several box office hits contributed to this wealth. Costner is the highest-paid actor on the show, earning about $1,200,000 per episode in the later seasons. This impressive salary highlights his star power and the show's popularity. Additionally, Costner earned around $15 million for his role in the hit movie The Bodyguard, which was a huge success and solidified his status as a leading actor in Hollywood during the early 1990s. Kevin Costner made a significant amount from Dances with Wolves, both as the star and director. His initial salary was about $3 million, but he earned much more due to the film's surprising success. The movie grossed over $400 million worldwide, and as the producer and director, Costner's total earnings are estimated to exceed $40 million after box office and home video sales. When Costner believes in a project that others do not, he has sometimes funded it himself. This approach has led to major successes like Dances with Wolves, but also to failures like the often ridiculed The Postman. Now, Costner is back in the Western genre with an ambitious project called Horizon, an American saga. So what do you think? After losing love, legacy, and certainty, yet still standing alone, did Kevin Costner truly win or lose something greater? We'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.